Hey everyone, this is YouTube Vids and this is the Ohio COVID-19 update for April 24th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started with the numbers as usual, guys. So first thing first. So as of today, Ohio has completed over 100,000 tests. We were at 107,109. The last time I made a video, we were at 97,998. So we are steadily climbing our way up, and there will be an update in the bullet points shortly about what's going to happen with this. We are at 15,169 positive tests, and we completed 4,784 tests today. So as you can see from 2 days ago, we've slowly gone up. We went from 3,759 to 4,327 to 4,784 in terms of tests completed daily. And let's take a look at our line chart here. So really all that there is to be shown here, I think in the future I'm going to get rid of this original OSU projection curve because I feel like we've already got past the point where we're kind of past the point where the curve doesn't really matter anymore. And the only reason why I say that is because the expectation was that if people didn't do the social distancing, then this is kind of what our outcome could have looked like, and we're kind of past the point. So remember I explained earlier in the week that actually I think it was on Wednesday, was that the reason for the peak was due to the prison testing and all that kind of stuff, and since then we dropped back down. We've kind of gone up and down over the past couple of days, but we're basically staying, you know, we haven't stayed at under 400 the last couple of days, but keep in mind that we've also done almost 1,000 more tests the last couple of days in comparison to 3 days ago. So that's one thing that we got to keep in mind. So these numbers, again, you need to think of them in context of all of the other things that are going on, which is why I show this other graph, right? This doesn't show the difference, but we got to keep in mind that, again, we've increased our testing by 1,000 over the past couple of days, and so, you know, as you do more testing, you're going to have higher numbers, of course, to go along with that. Now, of course, the red is the deaths, so the deaths, again, they're going to continue to grow as we continue to progress throughout this thing. At some point, I may just remove it. I mean, it is information regardless, but again, I mean, the deaths don't really mean anything here. It's just some other piece of information that I wanted to show. So, but anyways, let's move on to the points for today. So I didn't really find anything from yesterday's press conference worth documenting or writing down. I actually had no notes from yesterday's press conference, but the one for today had some really great news, and this is the stuff that I hope this encourages people, or at least gives people a lot of relief or some sort of relief in Ohio. You know, again, you may be jobless, and so this isn't going to help you there, but this is at least going to be some positive and great news for Ohio. So the first thing that was mentioned today was that Ohio has an agreement with Thermo Fisher in relation to testing. There wasn't a whole lot of detail that Mike DeWine went into about this, but Thermo Fisher was, I believe, the manufacturer behind the equipment that's being used in our labs to do the testing. And so there was the thing earlier in the week, I believe I mentioned on Monday, where the FDA approved the new reagents that we could be using on these Thermo Fisher related machines. And so Mike DeWine mentioned that there's some agreement that we have with these guys now, and hopefully on Monday he will explain that in more detail, because I don't recall him really explaining much of anything about this today, other than just saying that this is really good for us in terms of the capacity that we have in our labs and so on and so forth. The other great deal was that Ohio has now made an agreement with Roe Dental from Cleveland, Ohio. Really, they're located in Independence, but he did say Cleveland. So really anything north of, I think the way, if you're an Ohioan, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, if it's anything north of Columbus, it's basically Cleveland. Anything south is basically Columbus, you know, or Cincinnati. I think that's the way that most Ohioans tend to generally look at things. Now, so Roe Dental will now be producing producing 1 million swabs by the end of May. So obviously one of the big problems that most states have had, really all states, if anything, at least the ones with a lot of testing, where a lot of testing has been required, is the inability to obtain the pieces parts to perform actual testing in the state. So Ohio just said, okay, screw this, we're going to find someone here that we can use to help us produce this. And so they found a dental facility that will be able to help us do that. So what does that mean for us? Well, fortunately, Governor DeWine actually laid that out today and what that means in terms of how testing is going to carry on for the next month. Actually, over the next month. So they're expecting that by April 29th, we will be able to complete 7,200 tests per day. So looking back at those numbers that we saw, remember, we're doing about 4,700 tests per day. And we're maxed out. Remember, so again, I want to prefix all this by saying that, remember, one of the things I mentioned earlier in the week is that the labs have capacity to do more testing. The problem is that we can't administer enough tests so that the labs stay busy just doing testing. So these things that we're talking about here, this is the ability for us to administer tests to people to take, so that way we can send them to the labs and therefore get more and have more testing throughput to the labs. So that's what this is talking about, not the ability for the labs to test more, not 7,200 more tests by the labs done per day. This is 7,200 tests administered every single day. And again, if someone thinks that I'm wrong with this is the way that I interpreted the information, because this is the only thing that makes any sense right now. Because they said that the labs can do more testing. And again, the swabs is one of the things that we've been short on in our ability to actually administer tests. So by 4/29, they're expecting 7,200 tests possible per day. By May 6th, that number would jump to 8,700 tests per day. By May 13th, that number is expected to jump to 18,800 tests per day. So there's it's weird because, so we're going to say, unless DeWine gave out the wrong number, what he had said was, so I'll just note this point, was that I came up with the 8,700 test because when he relayed the information in the press conference, he said by May 6th there would be up to an additional 1,500 tests per day given. So I basically just added 1,500 to 7,200 from the prior week and came up with 8,700. He didn't specifically say 8,700, and his 1,500 may have been bad as well too. I don't know. So maybe he may clarify that on Monday. I'm not 100% certain, but this is based on the information he provided today. So he said 18,000, that was the actual number he read off, 18,800 tests per day by May 13th. By May 27th, we're expected to be at 22,000 tests per day. So that means that essentially over the course of a week, you could be doing 100,000 tests in a week. And we're at 107,000 right now, and that was over the course of a month and a half. So let's put that into perspective, right? Okay, so that is great news if you live in Ohio. And this is the testing to determine if you have COVID-19, not this has nothing to do with antibody testing or anything like that. This is just the test to see. So what this essentially means, someone asked a question today saying, well, are you going to is this testing opening up? How do people just go and get tested? And so they said, well, you contact your physician, blah, blah, blah. I think the read between the lines part of this is they're saying that they're going to open it up to just anyone. If you have even mild symptoms of COVID-19, chances are your physician is going to start being able to refer you to get tested. And by having this capacity to be able to do that, that's not going to be an issue. So now testing's not just going to be for the people who are damn near dead. It's going to be for anyone who's having symptoms. And that's the read between the lines, or the hidden, kind of message that was given today. So DeWine didn't explicitly say that, but that's basically what this is saying. So that is great news. Now, so the other thing they talked about in today's update was the contact tracing. They said obviously that's going to be very important for the months to come, at least for the next year and a half, to be honest. So they said there's going to be a total of 1,750 people involved in completing the contact tracing. I know Dr. Acton had previously said whatever number she gave out was far bigger than that, I believe. I mean, I feel like they would need like 10,000 people to do the tracing for that would cover the entire state effectively, based on the ratio she gave. But either way, at least they have a plan for the number of people that they expect to have involved in contact tracing. So this just means that if you're diagnosed with COVID, then they start asking you, okay, who'd you talk to, or like who did you meet with, who may of you have had like physical contact with, and then so on and so forth. So basically trying to figure out who all you came in contact, and then those people who they came in contact with, and those people who they came in contact with, and so on and so forth. So that is what we mean by contact tracing. They're going to have 1,750 people staffed to do that. They said right now they're using some medical students or people who were going to graduate medical school, and so they're being sucked in voluntarily to help assist with this currently, but they didn't have any specifics around who these 1,750 people are, how many of them already exist, and when they plan on getting the rest, and when they plan on doing that by. So that hopefully that will be discussed a little bit more in the detail on Monday in the reopen plan, which I kind of just mentioned that, so I'll put that up here. So Monday is going to be when the reopen plan for phase 1 is going to be described in detail. So he did say there were a lot of questions today about people trying to figure out what might be in the plan and what might be described in detail. He said he wasn't talking about it today at all. So Monday, Dr. Acton will be back as part of the press conference. She's been out the last 2 days, just kind of taking a break because Mike DeWine said he wanted her to have some time off. But he did say that she's been texting and emailing and keeping in contact with things as the things progress, in which you would expect that from a professional. I work in IT specifically, and so in some cases when you just have a day or two off, depending upon your position, you're probably still involved in some day-to-day stuff, even though you would realistically like to unplug. So she hasn't been completely unplugged, but she has not been in the press conferences in the last couple of days just because DeWine wanted to give her some time off. So, and actually his wife had asked him to do that, is what he said on TV. So he wasn't actually, maybe his wife said, make me the scapegoat. But anyway, so Monday is so we'll have another update on Monday for sure, because that's when the most amount of detail is expected to be coming out about, what businesses will be allowed to reopen and what safety precautions they're going to be required to have, and so on and so forth. Let me just reveal the last point. So that is really the final point here, is reopening businesses will focus on safety and protection for employees. One of the questions that someone asked today was, some viewers were sending in questions saying, well, am I going to have to make a decision as to whether or not I feel safe enough to go to work, or losing my job? Or are you going to mandate that employers be lenient with people who don't feel safe in their work environment? And basically, his response to that was, the rules that we're putting in place, these employers are expected to follow, and these are the rules that will make sure or ensure safe work environments, so that way when employees go to work, they're not really having to make that decision. Now, I will say, kind of on a tangent here, is that, remember, there were a lot of employers that tried to stay open even though they weren't considered essential businesses, and so it was up to the employees to have to report them for the governor and the cities to have to step in and shut those employers down. And so I would expect that we would get the same answer here. He would say, look, if you feel like your employer's not following, or if it's just in plain sight, they're literally just not following the mandates that we're saying they have to follow in order to open up, then you need to report them to your local health department, and then they'll look into it and then consider what action to take from there. So chances are you're going to have the same thing. Again, it's always going to be up to the employer to do what they're going to do. And you guys, if you've known me long enough, you know that my general consensus on employers is that they're in it for the money. They're in it to make money. That's why they stay open, or that's why they're open. That's why they open to begin with. They're in it to make money. And so some employers don't, they're going to try to find ways to cut corners and stuff like that. And so it really is going to be up to employees to report their employer for unsafe work conditions, especially if they don't follow the rules that are going to be laid out for them in order to operate safely and protect their employees and themselves, of course. So those are the main points for today. Trying to think if there's anything I left out. I don't think there is. Again, Monday will be the big day. We're going to see what is going to be talked about on Monday. A lot of people are itching to hear what DeWine has to say on Monday and what businesses are impacted by that, good and bad, how that impacts employers and employees, good and bad. The one thing I will say, though, is that they are saying that their reopen plan, even for businesses that were considered essential, there will be new mandates and guidelines that need to be put into place for them to continue operating under the new order. So I'm assuming there's going to be another executive order on Monday that's going to say this is what you need to start doing, and that executive order is going to be effective, day X, whatever day that is, May the 3rd or whatever, or May 5th, May 6th, whatever day that is. Essentially they'll give them a couple of days to kind of get their act right, is my guess of what might happen here. But I can't be absolutely certain. But that's just my guess, my take as to what might happen. So, again, Monday's the day to look forward to, and that's really all for today. So thank you guys for everyone who came by to watch this presentation and basically let me summarize what's going on in the state of Ohio for you as it relates to COVID-19 in a relatively short period of time. I saved you. Maybe you spend 20 minutes watching this video, but you didn't spend 3 hours listening to press conferences over the past couple of days like I did. So, and taking the time to prepare all this. So there's that too. But thank you guys for everyone who came by to watch this. I appreciate it very much. As usual, if you would love to watch more of these videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when I publish new videos. Be sure, if you like this particular video, I certainly appreciate a thumbs up, a like, that would go a long way for me. And until my next update, guys, which will be Monday, bye-bye.